I lived in a neighborhood where there were only whites, there were very few Chinese. So people always called me the Jap, the Nip, the Chink. Then when I used to go to the Chinese community, they used to laugh at me because I couldn't speak Chinese. So I did not belong. And I was living out in Long Island, and a friend just came from Taiwan. And I was fooling around, boxing with him on the lawn, and then suddenly he dropped down and he swept his legs around and he knocked me over like a bowling pin. And just one moment he's up in front of me, and the next moment I'm on my back, and the breath was knocked out of me. And I'm saying, "What'd you do? What'd you do? What'd you do?" He said, "That's Kung Fu." And from that instant, I became a fanatic. And the fact that it came from China, it affirmed my Chinese heritage. And then the fact that it had a philosophical foundation also entertained that very deep philosophical and spiritual side that I had nurtured when I was young. In those days, Kung Fu was secret. It was only taught in the Chinatowns and secret societies. We'd climb up the stairs in Chinatown, go to the top floor, and you'd come to this dirty, smelly old hall with an altar there, and it's all very romantic and very exciting, because here we're meeting these masters and we're learning this secret, esoteric killing art. It's very important to understand the cultural differences between the East and West, and the ways of thinking and the ways of learning are very different. The traditional Chinese way is you imitate the master. He is a superior being in that he has a lot more knowledge, a lot more experience. You bow to him and you just follow him over and over and over, and you intuitively grasp it. The Western way is to break things down, analyze it, and understand it intellectually, whereas the Eastern way is much more intuitive, just imitate and follow, you see.
So where do you fit in between East and West?
Back and forth like a yo-yo.
In a bid to resolve this conflict, Lawrence Tan's quest took him to the steps of the Shaolin Temple in China, legendary home of Kung Fu. He recorded his journey on film.
In Chinese martial arts, the Shaolin Temple is very important historically because all present-day systems of martial arts somehow or other trace their source back to the Shaolin. For all of us, it was sort of like we're going to Mecca. We're going back to the source, and this is a spiritual journey. We're going back to the roots. They really didn't have that many monks. They kind of like found all the old monks, and they said, "Okay, guys, you got a job right now." And a lot of them weren't real monks, or some of them had just studied a little bit. So basically, the system had been fragmented in chaos. We got up 3:30 in the morning to shoot the monks meditating in the temple. So while they were setting up the lights and the camera, I noticed that there was a monk, a young guy at the corner of the temple, practicing punching, and it looked like Western boxing. Now this is the Shaolin Temple, birthplace supposedly of Shaolin Kung Fu. I go up to him, I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "我现在打西洋拳, which is Western boxing." So I said, "Well, why are you doing Western boxing?" He says, "Well, because Kung Fu is superior, but Western boxing you learn how to fight practically faster."
Lawrence had hoped to find inspiration from the warrior monks of the Shaolin, but the high point of his visit lay outside the temple walls. The moment of discovery is recorded in his own film.
Across the road from the Shaolin Temple is a school for young boys who practice the martial arts. Without a doubt, the most spectacular moment during my journey was watching 2,000 young martial artists charging forward, screaming, and they fell into perfect formation. These youngsters are inspired not by the lofty Zen philosophy seeking personal enlightenment. Each of them is hoping that they're going to become China's next Bruce Lee.
Lawrence travelled to China in the hope of finding his home in the East, only to discover that the young martial artists of the East were hoping to find their home in Hollywood.